I never planned to burn the kingdom down. I only wanted to save what was left of me. The receipt was crumpled, almost weightless, the way lies always are until you hold them in your hand. Room 2407, the Mercer Hotel. 2 nights, cash. 2 bottles of Dom Perignon, long-stem red roses, breakfast for 2 charged at 10:14 a.m. on a morning. He told me he was stuck in Chicago for back-to-back investor meetings. Our 10th anniversary had been 21 days earlier. He'd come home late, smelling of airport and someone else's perfume, kissed my forehead, and said, "Sorry, babe, the markets were insane." I sat on the heated marble floor of our bathroom at 3 in the morning, knees pulled to my chest, and felt the last soft part of me calcify. No screaming, no tears, just a quiet metallic click somewhere behind my ribs. The sound of a woman deciding she was done being the footnote in someone else's legend. Julian Vale, 38, tech bro royalty. The man who put Vale Forge Holdings on the cover of Forbes 3 years running. The man who once told a reporter, "My wife is my anchor, she keeps me human." He said it while his fingers rested on my thigh under the table, squeezing just hard enough to remind me who owned the leash. He insisted on the post-nup 6 months after we got married. Purely procedural darling, protects the cap table from future complications. He scheduled it the week our daughter, Leela, was in the NICU with RSV. I signed because I was exhausted and 28 and still stupidly in love. 3 lawyers, 1 mahogany conference table. Julian in head-to-toe Laura Opiana, smirking like he'd already won the rest of his life. I had my own lawyer add a writer. 47 pages in, buried between the boilerplate, in 9-point font. In the event of proven marital infidelity, by Party A, Julian, Party B, Catherine, is granted irrevocable proxy over Party A's entire shareholding in Vale Forge Holdings for a period of 5 years, inclusive of all voting rights and board privileges. Julian signed without reading past page 2. He was late for a dinner with limited partners. I watched the Mont Blanc scratch across the paper and thought, one day this pen will draw blood. After that, I became his favorite version of me, the one he could trot out at galas in backless dresses and say, "Isn't she perfect?" I laughed at jokes I'd heard 100 times. I let him explain Bitcoin to me like I'd never written the white paper for my Yale thesis. I wore pale pink and cream and pearls the size of gumballs. I stopped asking why his shirt smelled like hotel lobby and someone else's skin. While he relaxed into the certainty that I was safely stupid, I started collecting. A private investigator who used to work NYPD financial crimes. A forensic accountant who owed me a favor from college. A hacker in Lisbon who thought feminism was a good enough reason to work pro bono. They brought me treasures. Hotel keycard logs, geotagged photos of Julian, and a revolving cast of 20-somethings named after stripper aliases. Venmo payments labeled marketing consult and brand ambassador fee. One girl, Scarlett with 2 T's, had the nerve to invoice him for emotional labor. I kept everything on an encrypted drive hidden inside a hollowed-out copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting. He never opened it. He called it your mommy propaganda. I started showing up at board meetings. "Darling, I just want to support you," I cooed. I wore kitten heels and brought Tupperware of lemon bars dusted with enough powdered sugar to make 70-year-old men weep. They patted my hand and called me sweetheart and told me everything. How Julian was quietly amending the bylaws to make himself untouchable. How he'd engineered a poison pill that would flood the market with new shares if anyone ever tried to take the company from him. How his new employment contract included a $240 million golden parachute, triggered even in the case of termination for cause. I smiled, refilled their coffee, and took diligent little notes in a pink leather journal. Then December came, and Julian decided he needed powder and perspective in Aspen with Scarlett with 2 T's. He kissed Leela goodbye, told her daddy had to go fix the snow, and promised to FaceTime. I waited 24 hours after his Gulfstream took off. Then I invited the entire board to our Tribeca penthouse for an intimate holiday dinner. 15 men who controlled 92% of the voting shares. I wore black, floor-length, high-neck, severe, the color of funerals and chessboards. I fed them Wagyu and 1982 Chateau Margaux. I let them smoke cigars on the terrace overlooking a city glittering like broken glass. After dessert, dark chocolate tart with sea salt, I dimmed the lights and said, almost apologetically, "There's something I need the board to see before we discuss next quarter's guidance." The screen descended from the ceiling like a guillotine. 30 seconds. No sound except the click of hotel doors and the occasional moan. Julian in the elevator of the Mercer, mouth on a girl young enough to be his junior associate. Julian in the back of a Maybach, hand up a different skirt. Julian in our Hamptons house. Our house. Fucking someone on the bed where I'd given birth to our daughter via emergency C-section. I watched their faces go from indulgent to pale to green. Then I placed the post-nup on the table. Original ink. Notarized. Clause 47 highlighted in tasteful canary yellow. The silence was so complete I heard the ice in Harold Klein's bourbon melt 1 cube at a time. Harold Chairman, 81 years old, 3 bypasses, looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time in 10 years. "Catherine," he said softly, "what exactly are you asking for?" "Nothing," I answered. "I'm telling you what already happened. The proxy transferred at the moment the infidelity became provable, which, according to the paper trail, was roughly 11 months ago." I slid a folder to each of them, time-stamped, notarized. "Devastating. Extraordinary meeting is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow," I said. I took the liberty. Julian's plane landed at Teterboro at 6:47 a.m. He came straight to 60 Hudson, still wearing the same cashmere sweater he'd fucked her in, smelling like jet fuel and desperation. He burst into the boardroom screaming about forgery, about lawsuits, about how I would never get away with this. Harold didn't even look up from his bifocals. He simply pushed the post-nup across the table. Julian read the writer. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. For the first time since I'd met him at 23, Julian Vale had nothing to say. The vote took 4 minutes. Motion to remove Julian Vale as CEO and chairman, 14-0. Motion to appoint Catherine Vale as interim CEO and chairman, 14-0. He wasn't allowed to vote his shares. They weren't his anymore. Security, 2 ex-Marines who used to salute him, escorted him out. He kept saying my name like a prayer. "Catherine, Catherine, Catherine." I didn't turn around. At 6 p.m. the atrium was packed. 5,000 employees crushed shoulder to shoulder, phones in the air, rumor ricocheting like shrapnel. I walked out onto the glass balcony that used to be his spot. No notes, no teleprompter, just me in the same black dress, hair pulled back like a woman going to war. I looked down at all of them, coders and janitors and single moms in customer support, and the trans guy from accounting who'd once asked me if the health plan covered top surgery. It didn't, yet. I took one breath that tasted like freedom and snow. "Today," I said, and my voice didn't shake, "the company lost a leader who forgot why we exist, but we did not lose our soul. You are its soul, effective immediately. Every single employee, full-time, part-time, contractor, intern, receives a 15% equity grant, fully diluted, vested over 3 years. The entire 42nd floor, once home to mahogany desks and ego, will be converted into a 24/7 daycare, lactation suites, and family resource center. Opening March 1st. Starting salary across the company, no exceptions, is now $95,000 a year. Anyone below that line will be adjusted on next payroll. And Julian's $240 million golden parachute. We just turned it into the Vale Future Hardship Fund. Any employee or former employee facing medical debt, domestic violence, or family crisis can apply. No questions about credit score or deserving. The noise that came up from the atrium was primal. People were sobbing, screaming, jumping into each other's arms. Someone started chanting my name, and 5,000 voices joined in until the glass vibrated. At 10 p.m. they let him up one last time. He looked like a man who'd aged 10 years in 10 hours. Unshaven, eyes red. "You destroyed me," he whispered. I was standing at the window 42 floors above a city that no longer belonged to him. "No," I said, turning. "You destroyed you the first time you decided other people were disposable. I just refused to let 5,000 families pay the bill for your midlife crisis." I handed him a banker's box. His stupid motivational quotes desk plaque, the photo of us in Positano he'd kept turned face down for 2 years, the Patek Philippe I'd bought him for his 35th birthday. And one more thing. An open-ended first-class ticket to anywhere in the world, and a cashier's check for $100,000. "Seed money," I said. "Start over, be better, or don't. That part is no longer my problem." He stared at the ticket like it might bite him. At the door he stopped, his voice cracked. "Do you hate me?" I thought about it, really thought. "This morning I did," I said. "By tonight, I don't feel much of anything where you used to be." He walked out. The elevator doors closed on the only man I'd ever loved, and I didn't flinch. I turned back to the city, my city now. On my laptop, the new company values glowed on the screen: simple, non-negotiable. Integrity isn't a department. People are not disposable. Second chances are earned, not stolen. I hit save. Somewhere far below, in the lobby that used to say VALEFORG in arrogant brushed steel, workmen were already installing the new sign. Veil Future. Lit from within. Soft gold against the winter night. And for the first time in 10 years, when I looked out at the skyline, the future looked back at me and smiled.